On behalf of Crosscheck Media and Biz Talk Today TV, welcome everyone to Wayve Wire. I am your host, Todd Schoenberger, and joining me as I do every week are the executives from Philadelphia-based Wayve Capital. I have Joe Besecker, the CEO, and the CIO, Rhys Williams. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. So we have markets plummeting again today, and it seems that traders, Wall Street traders, are just ignoring everything that the president is saying these days. He had the speech or the press conference yesterday, and he has given the Iranians 10 days to open up the strait. Rhys, we have oil, Brent at 110 right now. We have West Texas Intermediate up 2.5% as we speak. This is going to hurt American consumers. What kind of an impact will it have on Wall Street, though?
Well, anything that hurts the American consumers is going to have an immediate impact on Wall Street as well. Maybe Wall Street will lead it. But, as I said, I don't think this is just a stock market problem. I think this is an economy problem, which is why I really hope the administration gets down to tax and brass tacks and cuts the deal fast. You're not going to have regime change, I don't believe. And so you better, take the deal now and stave off the global recession, because what you have right now is 100% chance of a global recession if we're still talking about this 3 weeks from now. And we have maybe a 2 or 3% chance of regime change in the same period of time. Listen, we all hope for regime change and George Washington takes over. That seems unlikely. So my guess is, why take a certain recession?
Okay, Joe, I got to say, Rhys makes a lot of good points right now, and he has been really against this war, but we've been hearing his comments about the administration as well. And then you have to start thinking, okay, maybe he's onto something, because stocks are down again. And they're not just down a little bit. I mean, they are violently down. And as a result, we see, well,
so
we have oil.
Can you give me the description of plummet? You keep saying plummeting.
Well, okay, we're in correction territory on the NASDAQ.
Right.
We're down
Was it
9%.
possible for us to have a correction before this? I mean, we were at all-time highs, right?
Right, sure. We're seeing a correction.
And
However,
I think the correction is right around 4 or 5%.
We could be seeing lower lows at this point. I mean, the Dow's down 9%, S&P down 7%.
We could have been had there not been a war. I mean, some of these things got a little silly.
But before the war, we were only talking about private credit issues, which was also a lit stick of dynamite. Now you have this.
This isn't helping private credit any.
No, Joe, you and I were at the Raymond James conference earlier this month, and I would say the tone was really good. People were, I think, on the margin more positive. There was a kind of a skip in everybody's step. And I think that we were walking into a potential beat and raise March quarter. That's off the table now. That's already off the table.
I don't believe that. I don't believe it. I don't. I mean, you talk about beat and raise. Let's look at two big names, NVIDIA and Micron. Did they beat and raise?
That was earlier.
And don't you think they're going to beat and raise next time?
I
do.
I think so.
I'll bet you the pizza right now.
I think
put this on the thing. Put this on the tape to say, when Micron and NVIDIA report next quarter, they will beat and raise. Period. End of story.
And I disagree, because if oil goes to 200, they won't. And I think if everything stays the same, they will. You are correct. There is a huge boom in AI infrastructure. And that is the one area that's a boom.
I don't even remember what the name is. I just know the Princess and the Pea, right? And you sleep on a pea every night and you think it's a freaking boulder. Look, this is a challenge. We have challenges. Life doesn't go in a linear fashion up and to the right. This thing actually, did you read Norio Rubini? I actually did TV with him once. I sat in a green room with him. He was an odd duck.
Yeah.
If you're watching Norio, I didn't mean it in a bad way.
Right.
But I don't think he's a Phillies fan, so it doesn't matter. But anyway, he basically said, and I kind of agree with him, that Trump has to play this game out. If he settles, because Rhys wants him to right here, and we don't get quite what we want, all right? So he thinks he's going to finish the job. He thinks they're going to take over the island. I don't know what he's going to do. All I know, it's going a lot better than you guys want to say. The market is taking it. Well, the war's going fine.
I completely disagree with that. It's not
Well,
that,
of course
that
you
we can't,
do.
we're dropping. No, I'm telling you, it's not that we can't drop bombs. I got that. But there clearly is not a definitive plan here. We can't even put a warship to escort tankers through the strait right now. I mean, and then we're
Well,
1 month
last
into
I
this.
checked, there was a whole bunch of tankers that got through.
The,
The
what do
ones
you
that
they
Iranians
canceled three?
allowed.
They won't let three go through today, and the
Ah,
Chinese can't even get their tankers through now.
Iran's
guys,
in charge of the strait.
guys, I don't want to minimize anything, but you guys are maximalists, all right? I'm not a minimalist, but you are maximalists. And listen, Todd, the three of us are on a text chain all week long. You just make me laugh every day. It makes me the drama that you guys
Yes.
do. The market is going to. I should say this. I'm very hopeful that the market will deal with this, get through this, and we will find names that we can make money on.
Nobody's disputing. If you look at history of the stock market, we do have, go through wars, depressions, recessions, et cetera, and there's still that 45-degree angle on that chart. Everyone can accept that. However, right now, present day, current state, you still have an uncertainty effect right now.
Of
You have
course.
stocks that are dropping, and you can't. People are tuning in. Not they want to know what direction they should consider for their portfolios and that's the responsibility that we have to give, because if we just say everything's going to be fine in a year, we all know that.
I think that the concerns are warranted,
Yeah.
but not to the extent. It's a volume, right? You have a volume there. You guys have it on 10. I have it about 5.
Well, okay, let me phrase the question then this way to Rhys. Okay, Rhys, you have right now inflation readings that already preliminary readings are well north of 3% for this month of March. We are going into April. Even if the strait opens up and we have peace in the Middle East today, let's say it happens this afternoon, hypothetically speaking, then you still have a lag effect. It's just like when the Fed raises rates or cuts rates, you still have that lag effect. So you are not going to see lower oil prices for weeks to come anyway, which pushes us well into mid-April, and then you have inflation readings you have to worry about. You got the Fed meeting on April 28th and 29th. What is Chairman Powell at his final meeting, that it's supposed to be his final meeting, what is he going to say to the board? He's going to have to say, hey, we have to start considering hiking rates, right?
Well, I think that will be mentioned in the meeting. Yes, I think that is potentially on the table, not for the April meeting, but there's going to be a discussion about this as inflation is going to ramp up. I mean, we also just found out that 40% of all fertilizer goes through the Straits of Hormuz, and this is going to affect.
That's because they have to deliver the bullshit to your place, the fertilizer. That's the fertilizer. You create an extra order.
I'm creating a lot of my own fertilizer. So anyway,
no kidding. Just by speaking. So,
but Todd has been. I just want to finish the point. Todd has been onto something, which is that the energy stocks have been acting really, really well in this period of time, and not just because the oil price is up. Even the times when oil prices are coming down, energy stocks are not going down, which I think is very interesting.
And I go down. They'll go down if this thing gets settled.
Oh, if 100% it gets settled, for sure they will go down. But it's a very small part of the S&P.
That's correct.
It used to be 20% of the S&P in the 1990s.
5%.
If we're going into stagflation like that, there's certainly that possibility. We go into Carg Island and we put this and oil goes to 150. That's absolutely a possibility. It's hopefully not going to happen, but it's a possibility.
I just filled up my tank this morning, and boy, it was tough. $3.69. Oh my God!
I'm just giving the parameters. I think you should have some energy stocks in your portfolio.
Oh, I do. We do. You do. We agree. We agree. You need to have the energy stocks that are balanced, that aren't just. I wouldn't be buying. And you and I kind of agree on some of this. I would have them have a nice mix of natural gas, which we're going to need a ton of anyway, and oil. Right. Yeah. I think if you're going full octane on oil, I think you're playing a very dangerous game.
No, I actually the one retail name, and since there's a lot of retail investors watching the show, there's an ETF called the AMLP, which is
I like that.
And you take away the K1 problems. A
lot
of these have K1s.
Yeah, because you're going to have to. That's a pipeline or what do you call it?
It's a pipeline ETF.
Valerian. I like that. I actually think if you want to play oil in a secondary way, you can buy, and this actually comes from my friend Eric Green over at Penn, and we talked about this morning, and you know Eric pretty well too, Rhys. He talked about buying the Brazilian ETF. You get oil there. They make a lot of heavy, material stuff. They're not dependent on the outside world for energy. And so they benefit if energy's up. They benefit better because they have their own energy. And it's a country that is a lot more free than some of the other South American countries. And they have some nice growing companies. So I actually like that.
I do think also the LNG.
It's a Brazilian ETF. Whatever. There's many. There's 4, I think 5.
But the LNG story, though, in the U.S., I think in general, you're going to want to have more LNG coming from the U.S. and less from the Middle East.
I agree.
Because of what's just happened.
I agree.
I say I blame Trump, you don't, but the point is people are going to want to hedge their bets.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. And speaking of the oil companies, the big 3 oil companies, ExxonMobil crossed $170 a share today. It clipped its 52-week high. Same with Chevron and ConocoPhillips, doing very well. And when you see stocks like that up 40% year to date, and we're only in March right now, truly a monumental move. I don't believe it will. Exxon, for example, will drop to $100 again. No, even after the war, I think there's still a lot.
All right, here, Todd.
Yeah.
Given my position and given your position, and Rhys's position's even worse, would you? The question I have is Exxon today, versus a company that's very oily name, right? Versus a more LNG domestic play. Permian Resources is one I like, PR, and I like Cheniere, and I like some others. But that's not the point. The point is, which one would you rather buy today? I think you're really vulnerable if you buy a really oily name here and we get some type of resolution before May. And that's this show's kind of litmus test.
That's trading, though. That's trading. If you're investing,
I'm just saying at the end of the year, which one do you think will perform better?
I'm going to say ExxonMobil, and I'll tell you why. This is a company. First of all, you have the shareholders. The single largest shareholder of ExxonMobil stock is the teachers union in this country. So you have that pension plan that's investing in that company. More importantly, you have the new.
Well, you know what? They were lucky they were allowed to hold on to that, because during the past administration, they were trying to get pension funds to get rid of those type of names in their portfolio.
But to prove the point, though, ExxonMobil holding on to it as a holding in your portfolio, it's a core holding. Everyone agrees to that. But it's just like buying if you buy the full season of Topps baseball cards, Joe. We'll use your because it's something you would understand. And you take that full pack and you put it up in your attic and you pull it out 20 years from now. You know it's going to be worth a hell of a lot more because you probably have some rookie cards in there. So the point is that Exxon
I would rather have a discussion about Pokemon cards, but anyway.
Exxon is just like that. It's one of those holdings. You hold it and you forget about it, reinvest it.
I don't doubt it, but that goes back. And I want to take a shot, because do you remember about 3 years ago where they were trying to get the pension funds not to be able to buy those type of names and trying to say you can't have those type of names in your portfolio? What kind of bull crap is that?
Well, that's not right, obviously. But there's a number of things there. But let's turn the page on this, because we could talk about oil, we could talk about energy all day long, and it's a conversation that we're clearly going to have every time we have this show on Fridays at 12 noon.
What's amazing, and that is amazing, and I'll tell you why it's amazing, because what Rhys just pointed out.
What is
energy as a percentage of the S&P is not really a huge weighting. I mean, you probably know the number better than I, but is it like up to 5% now? 5 or 6?
Oh, not even close.
4?
I don't exactly right.
So we're talking
1.5 at the most. It's 3 at the most.
We're talking about it. Well, I didn't know with the recent up how much it was. We're talking about it, and I do think, to be perfectly honest, that I think a lot of managers are at best equal weight. I don't see a ton of people overweighting them in their portfolio, except for certain hedge funds and whatever. Maybe the ones that the predictive market, the one they're betting on a war in the predictive market too. I don't know. But my point is that yes, it's important. It's important to the consumer, very important to the and business, because business, they're going to have to start doing surcharges for energy and whatnot. So it is a very important thing. It is only important in my mind if it's long lasting. I believe this won't be long lasting. You guys think it'll last longer. We'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. And we'll continue this conversation, obviously, in the weeks to come because the war is not ending anytime soon. Okay, let's turn the page. Rhys, SpaceX. There's word that they might be coming out with an IPO. They're looking to raise $50 billion. That would give it a valuation of $1.8 trillion. In your opinion, are you thinking SpaceX is a technology company? If that's the case, are they going to have to rebrand the Mag 7 and maybe turn it into the Super 8?
Well, for sure, if it comes out at 1.8 trillion, I think SpaceX, is going to have to be in that conversation, just as Tesla is. Any Elon Musk stock doesn't trade on fundamentals; it trades on something else. So I certainly wouldn't want to bet against anything that Musk does because he gets a pass because of his collective brilliance over the years. That being said, I think it's pretty hard to justify. You can just analyze from what I've heard about what the profit stream is at SpaceX. It's pretty hard to justify that valuation. But once again, Elon he gets a different scorecard. So
I have noticed on the financial news networks that there are a lot of ETFs that have these privates in them that are now putting a lot of commercials on to let people know that they have, a holding in those types of things. I would say maybe I would look at it differently. I would say that all things satellite and space, certainly in my view, are long-term growth business. And there are multiple ways you can play that. And I think that if you want to play the riskier way and get involved in some of these ETFs that have the privates, there's also EchoStar that owns a bunch of SpaceX. There's a way you can do that. I do think, however, for a young person that is enamored with all things being, I was just on the Craig Hallam and a lot of that call the other day, and that was a lot of satellite and satellite imagery. I like a little company in that space. I think that's a growth area, and I think people can look at that. And I mean, it's only going to get bigger. It's going to get so much bigger that I'm rooting for one of these satellites to come down and knock Rhys in the head sometime. Maybe knock some sense as it falls out of the sky.
Well, maybe that will happen.
I might steer one towards you pretty soon, Todd, too, because you're getting to be a little bit wacko as well.
If anything happens to us, it's on tape. We know who did it.
There you go.
Listen, your phone, his phone went on the fritz today. He was blaming Trump.
Well, listen, Rhys, on the SpaceX deal, though, would you be I'm not suggesting you guys are going into the IPO at all, but let's say hypothetically that you were considering an investment in either software stocks or something as revolutionary as SpaceX. Which one would you choose?
Wow, that's tough. I really would need to study I have not seen the prospectus. I have not seen the fundamentals. I've heard that there's some talk that they have about 20 billion in revenues and 1.8 trillion in market cap. Yeah. That strikes me as high. But once again, I haven't seen so I don't know. And on the subject of software, I kind of agree with Joe that you kind of want to pick away. However,
I'll tell you what,
every time Anthropic comes up with a new code of something, these software stocks go down 5%.
I don't know if I was wrong or I'm going to be wrong, but the perception of AI now getting into the cybersecurity area has really hurt some of the cyber names that I like. And I don't really buy it because I'll tell you why. Because those AIs are really going to have to be watched even more because they're going to be, the bad guys are going to be using AI to attack. So I'm a little, look, it's a kind of a transition period here. I still think the top names will do well, but boy, they've really been tattooed.
Yeah, and right now they go down hard on bad news. They really don't rally on good news. So I think you should be in very gingerly. So I would put my
I agree.
big toe in max.
I agree.
And you wait for signs of stability there. I still think leadership, if and when things ever settle down, in Trump does a deal, hopefully soon, as I said, sooner rather than later, is the AI infrastructure and that semi chain is. And that also got really tattooed in the last couple of days. But
as has memory.
That's the area where you can kind of see the beat and raises and where there's a lot and where they're a beneficiary of all the spending that Anthropic and OpenAI and Gemini are doing.
Right. Okay. Well, let's close out the show on this one. We do routinely get questions from the audience. Everyone likes to and obviously they have follow-up questions, and I know everyone loves to hear from you guys. Rhys, one question was directed specifically to you regarding what's happening with Iran and obviously our markets sliding down. And this one gentleman would like to know, how are institutional investors impacted by what's taking place these days?
Well, I think most institutional investors are measured against a benchmark. And so I don't believe that the average institutional investor, maybe they've raised a little bit of cash, but no institutional investor can be 30% cash and Trump gets a deal over the weekend. And we all know that the days you're out of the market, there's like 15 days in the market over a 20-year period, and that makes a difference between a huge return and no return. So I think the average institutional investor is probably maybe got the limit of what they can raise, probably about 5%. I do think the hedge funds are probably a little more cautious. And
it's a great question, because that's where this is no longer, I think, the type of market that you can just buy a passive portfolio and outperform. You're going to get what you get. I still think it's going higher and up to the right, as I told you, but where that question comes into play, and Rhys being humble, he's often wrong, but he's often humble about it. He's not often wrong when it comes to the portfolio, though. And without going into numbers, Rhys, again, is navigating this space by not overreacting in the portfolio, positioning it in the right spaces, and we're doing well at Wayve Capital. And I think that that's actually going to be beneficial to a lot of institutional managers that are able to navigate through these stormy seas. And I think Rhys has done a very good job of that.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that.
And then there's going to be others that were kind of like the Forrest Gump investors, right? They bought Apple because it was a fruit company, just like in Forrest Gump, that they did fine during a period of time where everything was going crazy, right? Well, I get to see the things that Rhys and the challenges he puts for names in the portfolio. We just had a name thrown at us yesterday that Rhys basically said too expensive for him. He has a process that puts in the portfolio things that, yes, nobody's perfect, but on balance, we're doing pretty well. And I think that is going to be a big differentiator for institutional managers. Those who are experienced and have been through these type of scenarios versus the young bucks that are just shooting the easy ducks in a barrel.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Great response to that. Well, that's wonderful. Guys, we're going to close it out there. There's a lot to do this weekend, obviously. Rhys, you got your Duke Blue Devils playing St. John's tonight. It's got to be the game of the tournament. I know the entire country is going to be watching that, so wish you luck.
Duke!
I would say most people will be rooting against Duke, but I understand.
What? Nah.
I think that that's going to be a great game. I think that St. John's, if they get a little bit cold, they rely so much on their outside shooting. Duke is more balanced. I think Duke comes away with the win, and I think ultimately it's going to be Duke and Michigan. And I'm having a hard time, the way Michigan's playing right now, I'm having a hard time choosing between that. But I think my Phillies will win the series. So how's that? Not the World Series. This series against Texas.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's
I don't know. I don't know if our batting lineup is quite good enough as it sits right now to win a World Series. But boy, we got some good pitching.
It's not. It's not. The Orioles have what you need.
Well, you know what? I thought the Orioles. Now you look. I like the Orioles. I root for the Orioles.
Good.
Orioles. They really disappointed me last year, though.
Well, it was a bad year. It was an off year, but this year
It's supposed to be a good year.
All Baltimore sports are looking great. That's for sure. And I know the audience will pipe in on that one as well. So, guys, we're going to leave it right there. This was fantastic. And to the audience, thank you so much for joining us today on Wayve Wire. We can't wait to talk to you again next Friday at 12 noon live. We have lots of great things that are happening at BTT. Big announcements coming out next week. Definitely want to be a part of it. So definitely tune in and you will learn more. So on behalf of Joe Besecker and Rhys Williams, I am Todd Schoenberger. Thank you once again for joining us on Wayve Wire. We'll catch you next time. Take care.
Access real-time data and intelligent analytics exactly when you need them. Get the right data at the right time. Learn more at quotemedia.com.
We're the economic modern family. Watch the flow. Market vibes tell you where the trends might go. We're the economic fam, guiding the scene from the streets to the screens to your trading machine. Tap in, stay tuned, feel the beat line, cause the market tells a story through the family line.
There's more happening behind the headlines, and you deserve the full story. At Biz Talk Today TV, we break down investing, government moves, entertainment business, and even sports gambling, all in one place. Real conversations, smart insights, content that helps you think smarter and stay ahead. Thousands are tuning in. Don't miss what's next. Subscribe now to Biz Talk Today TV on YouTube and join the conversation shaping the future.